Am I the a-hole for evicting my niece for being irresponsible? Here's some backstory. I, female 30, let my niece, female 20, live in the basement of my house while she's in university until she can find a place of her own. I am married to my husband, male 30, and we have one child, female 3. We live in a decently large house with a full basement. At Christmas 2 years ago, my sister, female 45, announced that her daughter, let's call Ella, had been accepted to the university of her dreams. I just so happened to live a few bus stops away from this school, so naturally, as a good aunt, I decided to put the offer for her to live with us while she went to school there. I had a few conditions, obviously, but nothing too over the top. 1. Pay rent. The rent isn't expensive either. It's a lot cheaper than most other places in our city. 2. If she's going to be staying with us, she needs to have a job. I plan to move out as soon as she's financially able. 3. If she's having friends over, she should make sure we're okay with it and just to keep her party decently quiet since we do have a toddler. To be honest, she was a pretty good tenant. She paid rent on time, she was an extremely good student. She even had dinner with us and offered to watch our daughter while we had date nights. Around her 20th birthday, she got a bit more irresponsible. She lost her job, which was a fairly well-paying job, meaning she stopped paying all rent. She became a lot louder, which as a student I wouldn't be too concerned about, but it was getting to the point where she would invite random people over for parties, and the neighbors would call the police for the noise. I hit my limit when I found out she was kicked out of the school she worked so hard to get into. I called my sister to ask if she knew anything about all of this, and she for some reason was angry and yelled, "Who cares? She's just living her life," and hung up. As expected, I was furious, so I did my little snooping and I called her old manager to figure out why she was fired. Turns out she was dealing on the job. I have no idea why or where she would have gotten any of that, but she did. So I emailed the dean of the school she attended and apparently, she just stopped showing to her classes and basically failed. I took it upon myself to talk to my husband and her father since my sister wanted nothing to do with any of this. I wrote up a little letter telling her she had to move out within 2 weeks or I'll be removing her stuff myself and she'll be basically homeless. The day off, her mother showed up to my door, screaming at me, and her daughter hadn't even packed anything up. My husband called the police and they removed her. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My apologies for not making this clear at all. I should have mentioned that I have connection with the dean. Nothing illegal was going on between us in any way. The dean of the school and I used to date in high school, but decided to be friends instead. Not that this is important, but that's why we had been in contact. He knows my family and vice versa, which is the only reason I ask anything about our school issues. I had emailed him and we met for lunch, caught up and discussed the issue. I swear nothing was illegal in our part. And for those asking, no, I'm not from the US. Now for the top comments. Why do you get to tell someone what to do? Jesus didn't make you. God. People are allowed to have different ideas and wants and needs. You have no right judging anyone, especially a family member who you made homeless. Good on you. What an awesome person you must be. Honest question. Would you allow someone doing dangerous and illegal activity to live in your home with your husband and child? Me doing that gave her the ability for something bad to happen to all of us. I don't even know why religion was brought into this, like at all. But honestly, would you allow something like that to go on in your home with your family, but decide it's okay because God says not to judge? I have a 28-year-old son who uses ice, so I practice what I preach. So you're a failure as a parent and are projecting. Not a-hole. You were under no obligation to house a dealer. She broke all the rules you set for her. Did she and her mother really expect you wouldn't take steps to remove her from your house? Your first priority is to protect your child and your home. You did what you had to do. I wouldn't want a dealer around my children either. Hard pass. Your sister was probably ashamed, which is why she yelled at you. Understandable, but still a-hole-ish behavior. You are definitely not a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for shouting at my father and calling my stepmother a gold digger for kicking me out? Here is some background context before I 20 go further. My father, 48, was never present in my early life, as he and my mother divorced when I was very young and he moved 6 hours away for work. But eventually we rekindled and were in good terms in my mid-teens. Once I graduated, my father asked if I would like to come live with him, my stepmother 28, and my older sister 24 to make up for the fact that I never really had a chance to see him growing up. I was hesitant as I had landed a very high-paying job straight out of school and was also planning on moving in with a few friends. My older sister had been living with them since she was 19 and said she'd like to have me around, so I caved, and just after my 19th birthday I quit my job, canceled my plans to move away with my friends, and packed all of my stuff into my car. To be honest, it was great living with him, but I struggled settling into the new town, making friends, getting a job, etc. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago and I've found a job, have made friends, but dirt poor because I've spent all my money on a trip to Spain with sad friends. 4 days before I leave, my sister suddenly moves out, as one of her friend's roommates moved away, so she very quickly in the space of a few days moved in with her friend. All good. I go on my trip for 2 weeks and came back 3 days ago as of writing this post. The first day I was back, my father and stepmother were very nice and welcoming, picking me up from the airport, asking how it all went, wanting to see pictures. But after having dinner, they said that they wanted to talk to me about something serious. They sat me down and explained that while they really like having me around, they loved having their own space and house to themselves more, and that they wanted me out in 3 weeks. They said they'd help me move my stuff, and that I'd always be allowed to stop by. I was shocked and very hurt. I brought up that they wanted me to move in with them, and that my older sister had been living with them the last 4 to 5 years. We went back and forth about an hour, arguing until I reached my boiling point. I just started shouting and told them how hurt I was, how it was BS that I moved away from home and lost a great job and opportunity just for this. My stepmother said that I was too old to be living with them anyways, and that I was acting like a leech when I pay them rent and buy my own food. So I told her that it was ironic coming from a gold digger. After that, they told me to pack my things and leave, and that I wasn't welcome back, which I did. I'm now staying with my sister until I can find somewhere to stay. They haven't talked to me since, and my sister agrees that it was messed up for them to do. I get you eventually have to move out of home, but inviting me to live with you when I'm doing well, and then kicking me out when I'm broke, feels like such a betrayal to me. So am I the a-hole for how I reacted? Not the a-hole. They told you they wanted you to come live with them, so you quit your job to do so, and then they told you that actually they don't want you to live there the day you got there? That's super messed up. If they can't see that there's some huge cognitive dissonance going on in their heads. Sorry I wasn't clear enough. I've lived with them pretty much a full year. 2 months after my 19th birthday, I moved in till 3 days ago, which was nearly a month after my 20th birthday. Sorry if that was confusing, but thank you. I'm not an expert on the matter, but that may be worth speaking to an attorney. It sounds a lot like the situation turned into an illegal eviction. A consultation would be free and you would possibly be eligible for legal aid if a lawyer wouldn't take the case on a consignment basis, where they would only collect money out of winnings and get nothing if you lose. Not the a-hole. They are terrible people. Is there any chance of getting the old job offer rekindled? It won't hurt to try. If not, find another job. Preferably where you lived with your mom. See if you can move back home. Save money so that you always have contingency money. Good luck. I'm thinking this may be the plan, but I doubt I could get the same job as COVID was what really opened that opportunity. Thank you. It is worth a try. If you reach out to the company, first inquire. If the answer is no, then explain the circumstances. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to compromise with my dad and stepmom? I, 16 female, I'm the only child in my household who does not call the adults in our home mom and dad. I have 2 bio siblings ages 14 male and 13 female. And I have 4 step siblings ages 19 female, 14 male, 14 male, and 12 female. Mine and my siblings' mom died when I was 5. The oldest step sibling never knew her father. My other 3 step siblings' dad still plays a role in their lives, but was never big on the oldest, and eventually my stepmom left him for that reason. My siblings call stepmom mom, since they only know her as mom. Oldest stepsister calls my father dad because she never had one, and he was willing. Younger 3 call him that, because they are not fond of their bio father, but I have never called my stepmom mom. I was only 5 when Dad and her moved in together, 5 months after my mom died. She's okay, but to me, I do not love her like that, and I do not want her to be my mom. I have some memories of my mom and find it disrespectful. She's told me before that it's never disrespectful, and if I had a baby one day, wouldn't I want them to never be without a mom? I told them they'd always have a mom whether I'm dead or alive, and I wouldn't want them calling someone else mom. She told me I was too young to get it, so I should just follow the flow of the household and start calling her mom. My dad and stepmom went to a meeting with my school about my IEP, and there it was brought up that she was my stepmom because I tell teachers at school in my aid. Always did, but I guess it brought up for some reason and they hated it. So they sat me down and said if I won't call her mom, then they will try to accept it, though they think she has earned that title after all these years. But they said at least stop saying dad and stepmom and start saying parents. I told them no, that when I say parents, I mean mom and dad, not dad and stepmom. Dad told me I was being a difficult little turd, and why do I insist on punishing my stepmom for mom's death? I said it's not punishing her, it's doing what feels right to me, just like the other kids do what feels right to them. He told me he doesn't care about what I feel is right. They say what is right as the adult. Stepmom said my unwillingness to work with them and compromise drives her crazy. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. No step-parent has the right to demand a title from you. That's earned. I love my father's wife, but they married after I was grown and I've never lived with them. She's never been any kind of mother to me. I just call her by her first name and we're cool. My little brother was still a preteen when they got married, and he calls her stepmom even though he lived with them full-time. She's fine with that too. I also have to ask, since you mentioned IEP, are you on the autistic spectrum? If so, they should know that many people who have autism find it very hard to say something they feel is untruthful. You don't feel like she's your mom, therefore calling her your mom isn't a truth. And why would you lie to people? She has the right to have hurt feelings if she has raised you and treated you the same as her other children. But hurt feelings still don't give her the right to tell you to lie. Her feelings are not more important than your feelings, and as the adult, she should understand that. I'm not. My IEP is for speech and learning disabilities. My feelings were always kind of pushed to last, mostly because mine differed from others. I think that's how it goes when you're the only one who feels different to everyone else. I'm mostly used to it, but this stuff is stressful. Okay, that was just an added layer of them being wrong if you were on the spectrum. They're still wrong anyway. I understand how you feel. It's horrible when people we care about ignores our feelings. They're asking you to respect their feelings at the same time they're disrespecting your feelings. Respect goes both ways. Not a-hole and your father telling you he doesn't care is just so horrible. Even if they forced you to call her what they want, would it even count if it's not coming from the heart? They should be happy you are honest with them about your feelings. I think they'd feel like it's better than me never doing it. Maybe they even think saying it enough would make me mean it eventually. Last story. Am I the a-hole for helping pay off one of my daughter's student loans and not the others? I'm currently being given a cold shoulder by both my youngest daughter and wife over this, so I thought I'd get an outside opinion. Both my 2 daughters graduated from similarly costing universities. I had a school fund set up for both of them, but it didn't cover everything. They both, after graduating, had about $60,000 in student loan debt. They also both were lucky to find jobs in their fields a few months after graduating, with similar salaries of about $55,000 a year. However, they took vastly different approaches to their debt. My eldest for the last 3 years have lived extremely frugally, and outside of basic needs and bills, all her extra money goes into paying her debt off. My youngest, on the other hand, asked if she could live at home until she gets her loans paid off. But she still only pays the minimum required to send every month and spend the rest of her money on herself. Now, the issue started a few days ago. My eldest called me all excited because her loan debt was down to $500 and she would be able to finally pay it off when she next gets paid. We spoke for a bit more, and after the call ended, I decided to surprise her by sending her $1,000 to pay off the rest of her debt, and so she could finally have some money to do something for herself for once. When I was talking to my wife and youngest daughter over dinner about how impressed I was that she paid it off so fast, my youngest started yelling about how I've never given her money towards her loans. I explained that while I'm not directly paying them, I'm still helping her by letting her live at home rent-free. And she could be closer to paying it off if she spent less on things she doesn't need. After screaming and crying to me a bit more, she stormed off and is staying at her boyfriend's currently. My wife thinks that I should promise to give her some money each month to help her pay the loan off faster so we can keep the peace at home. But I don't think I should reward her for nothing. Not the a-hole. Just say you'll give her $1,000 when her debt is down to $500. Problem solved. Exactly. This would be fair, even though you have done way more for the youngest by letting her stay, hence less expenses. At the rate she's paying off her loans, he has about 25 plus years to save. Not the a-hole. Technically, by allowing her to live at home with you this whole time, you've probably paid more towards your youngest loans than your eldest anyway, when you take into account extra groceries, power, and water. OP should give the youngest a gift certificate of the value of the food/housing every month that says it's been gifted. Then, to be really fair, should give the oldest that much in cash. I mean, petty, and I don't really recommend this step. Not the a-hole. The amount of money she has saved by not having to pay rent is more than the $1,000 you gave to your eldest daughter. Your youngest daughter may not see it that way, but I think you've been more than fair and reasonable. OP, many people on this sub have solved this type of issue instantly by creating a spreadsheet with cost comparison. Your wife might be a little shocked as well. It's so easy for rent-free to get overlooked in the grand scheme of things because people see it as living with their parents. Does your daughter pay for her groceries, the utilities, internet? These are things your oldest is also paying for, not just her own rent. Be sure to include a whole breakdown and even the $1,000 credit so she can see that it's been applied for fairness.